Hey folks, welcome back to Green Iron TV. It is unfortunately that time of year. We have had our first snow here in the Great White North. And of course that means they have been out in full force with the snow plows and more importantly the salt trucks. They have salted all the roads around here due to that snowstorm, which means it is time to put the military vehicles away for the year. I do not, once they've salted the roads here, I do not get them out. I do not run them on the roads. And of course, we'll hold off all the way until the springtime, until we've had a couple good spring rains to rinse and wash the salt residues off the roads before we get these vehicles out there. My trucks are all in really good shape, and I'd like to keep them that way, and the best way to do that is to keep them out of the salt. So unfortunately, that means, well, it's time to put them away for the winter. So here today on Green Iron TV, we're going to go about basically prepping them up for the winter, and what I do to do my winter prep on them, and we'll put them away for the winter. And I'm sure over the winter there'll be a few little things here and there that we'll work on, but pretty much this will be the end of anything major until we get to the spring, where we can get them back out and keep enjoying them. So hey, thanks a lot for watching. Like always, please take a moment, hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment, give us a thumbs up, and of course, right now, I don't know why, but Facebook has been squashing our stuff. So anytime I link any of the videos to any of the Facebook military vehicle groups, Facebook is blocking those for whatever reason. And of course, that has freaking significantly affected the numbers of viewers, because let's face it, it's the easiest way to find all you guys is out there through the Facebook military vehicle groups. So, if you actually are seeing this and you wonder why the videos don't seem to be showing up as much anymore, well, it means, your Facebook's been squashing them. So please take that moment, hit the subscribe button. That way, every time I post a video and so forth like that, it'll let you know, and you'll be able to follow along much easier. So please get that done, and you can keep enjoying all the Green Iron madness with us. So, thanks a lot. So we'll start here with 715, and of course one of the first things I always like to do is we are going to check all the fluids. So we are going to check the radiator, make sure it's good and green and full. That way you don't have to worry about any freezing block or anything like that. We are going to check the oil. And yep, this truck is right there at the full mark. Of course, we did just do that oil change not too long ago, so I would expect that. And I would check the brake fluid. And I gotta grab a wrench to do that. So we'll check that brake fluid. All right, so let's check the brake fluid. All right. It looks like it's down a couple drops. So we will put a couple drops of brake fluid in there. So that is one of the things with these older vehicles, they do We'll leak a little bit of fluids here and there. And it was just a touch, just a few drops low. And we'll put that cap back on now. Put the vent back hose back in. And just snug that back up. Alrighty. Wiped a couple drips we made. Alright. So we know we're now full of oil, plenty of antifreeze, and the brake reservoir is all topped off. So this truck is ready basically for winter, and we'll move on to one of the next trucks. And of course, it's always important, make sure you put your hood latches back on when you've been working on these trucks. Just because if you don't, you're going to forget, and then you're going to go try and move down the road and have the hood fly up. Next, we'll move on to the 725 ambulance. So let's once again check our antifreeze situation. Nice and green and full, which is a good thing. Alright, check the oil. Looks like we might be just a touch low. Yep, and it looks like we're maybe about half a quart low or so. So we will top it off. Let's check the brake fluid on this truck too. Just a few drops low. And of course, with the 715, 725, this master cylinder is way back. The easiest way to do is to actually come and look from this side here and look between the open hood and the cowling there. That's the easiest way to see in there. Yep. And just a couple drops, but it's always good to be full. All right, now we'll put a little bit of oil in. And of course, like we shown in the video where we changed the oil in the 715, I do like to use Rotella. Basically, you know, the diesel engine Rotella, it's high in phosphates and zinc and stuff like that, which these old motors really like. So, and of course, this is a non-synthetic. I don't believe in running synthetic in these old vehicles, just because synthetic can sometimes be so thin that it will actually seep past the seals. So I like to keep it old school conventional oil. So top this off a little bit. Like I said, we were about a half quart or so low. Give that a second to dribble that in there, and we'll check it again now. See where we're at. All right, that looks like that brought that up to full now. Yep, so that brought that up to full. All right, we'll go ahead and close her all up. Move on to the next vehicle. Next, we'll move on to 38A1. Alright, let's check that radiator. She is a little low, so we are going to top that radiator off. And let's check the oil. And the oil looks good. It's nice and full. So we just got to top off a little bit of the radiator fluid here. All right, now that fills that up. And of course, the master cylinder on these are, kind of difficult to get to, so we know the brakes work really good, so I'm not gonna basically get way underneath this thing to check the master cylinder. Like I said, as we know, that's good. This Jeep's got good brakes, so we can go ahead, button it up, move on to the next. And of course, lastly, we'll move on to our M37. Alright. Check that radiator fluid. Nice and full, and a good green color. And now let's check the oil dipstick. Alright. This one does show we are down about a quart. So let's go ahead and top it back off. Same thing, we're going to put our Rotel in it. And of course, it's always fun putting oil in these trucks with this big full gallon. Trying not to spill it all over the place. See what that looks like, huh? There we go, that brought that up. Right up to the full mark. That's what we want. And of course, for whatever reason, this dipstick in this truck is difficult. There we go. Alright. And of course, you know, somebody along the line had painted the caps bright orange so that you know where they are. So. And of course, same thing as the M3081, the master cylinder is buried underneath the vehicle. And so I'm not going to pull off access panels. You know, it hasn't been too long since I actually checked the brakes in this truck once we got it all going this spring and summer again. So I know it should be pretty good, so we'll leave that alone. And of course, that's a big old heavy hood on this truck. And of course, one of the other things I like to do at this point in time in the year is I take a little small artist brush. I get a little bit of the paint, and I'll put it in a little cup. I basically made this. This is just a cut off bottom of a water bottle, pop bottle. I put a little bit of paint in the bottom, and then I can use a small brush, and then I'll go around all the vehicles, and I'll dab at all the little paint chips, rock chips, little scratches, stuff like that that have occurred over the year on the vehicle or so. And of course, just want to basically get a couple little dabs of paint, make sure you know you're filling in those spots and not giving anywhere where any type of rust can start and stuff like that. So I just I like to do that. I've just done that. I wandered around the vehicles, put a couple little dabs of paint on everything, and got them back looking good. Of course, keep that from rolling away on me. Of course, one of the other things with these vehicles, so all of my vehicles, I do have a battery cutoff switch in them. So we'll go ahead, we'll make sure the batteries are all disconnected. That way, while they're sitting here for the winter, they're not discharging themselves. At some point during the winter, I usually will put some battery tenders on the vehicles, just to keep those batteries up at full strength from sitting in the winter. Of course, one of the other things we did is I like to fill the fuel tanks on all the vehicles. So I have actually taken, I drove down to, I do have a fuel tank here on property that I store fuel in, and of course I run ethanol free, what they call rec fuel. It's a little bit more expensive, but you don't have the problems of ethanol, of it going bad so fast. I don't need to put stabilizer in any of the vehicles or anything like that. So I have taken all the vehicles down, we've filled them all the way up, and of course by filling the fuel tank, what you're doing is you're basically taking the air out of the tank, and of course, condensation in the air is what can cause the fuel tanks to rust and give you, fuel delivery problems in the spring. So, by filling them up, we're pushing that air out, and that will help, keep from the tanks rusting over the winter and stuff like that. Of course, one of the other things, I know it's super popular, especially with collector car guys. They'll lift their vehicle up, put it on jack stands or blocks or whatever to take the pressure off the wheels so that the wheels don't flat spot sitting over the winter. I don't do that, A, because I don't have enough jack stands to jack all these vehicles in the air. But B, several times during the winter, I like to get the vehicles out. I'll fire them up, even if it is snowing, cold, and blistery outside. I'll fire the vehicles up, we'll back them outside of the garage, and I'll let them sit there and run for 45 minutes or so. Make sure they get built up good heat and up at operating temperature. That'll burn off any condensation out of the motor, out of the oil, and of course out of the exhaust system. And I like to do that just to basically keep everything lubricated and moving and so forth. Like I've just shown, we've checked all the antifreeze, make sure all the vehicles have good antifreeze in them. That way we don't have to worry about any of the blocks freezing. I do use antifreeze. I am in a northern state, so there's I can't run just basically water because about half the year up here it is below freezing, it feels like. So we do run antifreeze on all the vehicles. And of course I just use the standard 50-50 mix stuff. Nothing special, just regular universal antifreeze. But that'll help keep the blocks from freezing in these vehicles. Check the oil, make sure the oil looks good, topped off, and of course on those vehicles where it was nice and easy, we topped off the brake fluid. Same thing, the whole objective is just to make sure everything's nice and full. So that's pretty much going to wrap up what we got going on today here in Green Iron TV. Like I said, we're kind of going into the off season for us, here living in Michigan, the Great White North. We've had our first snowfall, and it's cold, and coming down here to work in the garage is not miserable, but it makes it a little bit harder. So we'll get down here and we'll work on stuff when we have the chance, or when we have something to do with the vehicles. But other than that, we're pretty much going to be kind of wrapped up for most of the year. We'll work on a few little projects like we do every year. We'll highlight some gear, highlight some accessories, stuff like that. And of course, before too long, I'll go into my model building mode, and I'll build a couple models over the winter, like I always do. And so if you want to stay tuned, you can see those when they come up. But anyway, like always, I do want to thank you guys for following along and watching all the videos. And of course, like always, down in the description down below, there is the link for the Green Iron TV merchandise store. Hats, t-shirts, sweatshirts, stickers, all kinds of neat things in there. We are creeping up on the holiday season, so it is that great gift for somebody in your family that's a military vehicle enthusiast. There's several different designs and colorways and stuff like that, so it'd be a great time to pick something like that up for one of your family members. And of course, I do want to say thank you to anybody that does buy from the Green Iron merch store. What bit of money we get back from selling those items, I turn around and put that right back into keeping these vehicles maintained and on the roads, and able to get them to shows and parades and events and get them out in front of the public, so that the world can continue to enjoy these historic military vehicles. So I want to say thanks a lot, guys, and of course I hope you guys have a great day.